Woman, here's why God chose you over your siblings. It wasn't by accident. It wasn't luck. It wasn't just because you were in the right place at the right time. It was intentional. God looked at you, at who you are, at what you carry, and he said, she's the one. See, you've been questioning yourself. You've been wondering why the weight feels heavy on your shoulders, why the expectations are higher for you than for anyone else in your family. And sometimes it feels unfair. But what you don't realize is that the very thing that feels heavy is proof that God trusted you with it. He didn't pass it to them. He passed it to you because he saw the strength in you that maybe you don't even see in yourself yet. It's not about being the favorite. It's not about comparison. It's about calling. You were chosen because your journey required a different kind of endurance. You were chosen because God needed someone in your family line who could break cycles, open doors, and set a new standard. He knew your siblings might not have the patience, the resilience, or the faith to walk through it the way you would. He knew you wouldn't just carry it, you'd grow from it. And yes, it gets lonely. Yes, sometimes you look at them and wonder why they got a different path, maybe even an easier one. But you weren't created for easy. You were created for impact. You were chosen to step into places they wouldn't dare step into. You were chosen to handle storms that would have broken them. You were chosen to be the one who turns the story around. God doesn't make random choices. He makes divine assignments. And the reason you were chosen is because he already placed within you the grace, the wisdom, and the courage to carry it out. Others might have seen weakness in you. Others might have overlooked you. But God saw what no one else saw, and he knew if anyone can handle this, if anyone can walk this path and still shine, it's her. So when you start to doubt, when you start to wish it had gone differently, remember this: you were not just picked, you were prepared. You were not just chosen, you were equipped. And the proof that you're walking in something bigger than yourself is that the challenges feel heavier than yourself. But even in that, God trusted you with what he couldn't trust with them. That's why it's you. That's why he chose you over your siblings. It's not an accident. It's not something you stumbled into. It's not even about being smarter, stronger, or better than anyone else. It's about calling. It's about purpose. And it's about the fact that when God looked at your family, he saw you and said, she's the one. Now, I know you've asked yourself this question before. You've laid in bed wondering, why me? Why does it always feel like the weight falls on my shoulders? Why do I have to be the one to sacrifice, to push harder, to carry the burdens that others don't seem to carry? You've thought about how your siblings had it easier, or maybe how they walked away when things got tough, and yet you're still standing there holding everything together. You've wondered if God made a mistake. But let me tell you something, God doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't roll dice and hope it works out. He doesn't flip a coin and say, let's see who gets this assignment. No, his choices are deliberate. His choices are intentional. And his choice was you. You were chosen because you carry something unique. You carry strength that isn't loud but steady. You carry a heart that sees beyond the surface. You carry resilience that doesn't just get you through the storm, but teaches you how to dance in the rain. You might not see all of it yet, but God saw it from the beginning. That's why he didn't put this weight on your siblings. That's why he put it on you. And I know that doesn't always feel like a gift. Sometimes it feels like a punishment. Sometimes you look at them living their lives freely without the same responsibility, and you wonder why you couldn't have that path. But you need to hear this: easy paths don't create strong people. And God didn't call you to be average. He called you to be chosen. Think about it. If your siblings had been given what you were given, would they have carried it the way you do? Would they have stayed when it got tough? Would they have prayed when it felt hopeless? Would they have kept fighting even when everything inside of them wanted to quit? Probably not. And that's not to put them down. It's to remind you that God knew what he was doing. He gave you the assignment because he trusted you with it. There are moments in life when God chooses a person not because they're perfect, but because they're willing. And that's you. You've been willing to step into hard places. You've been willing to fight for what matters. You've been willing to grow even when it hurt. And that willingness is what separates you. See, being chosen isn't about privilege. It's about responsibility. It's about carrying something that others couldn't carry, not because they're weak, but because it wasn't theirs to carry. You were chosen to break generational cycles. You were chosen to open doors that had been shut for years. You were chosen to stand in the gap for your family and create a future that looks different from the past. That's not easy work. That's heavy work. But God knew you had the strength for it. You might look at your siblings and say they're more outgoing, they're more confident, they're more liked, they're more supported, and maybe that's true. But God doesn't choose based on popularity. God doesn't choose based on who looks the part. God chooses based on who can fulfill the part. And he saw in you what he didn't see in them. Let's be real. There were moments you thought you were the least likely. Maybe you were the quiet one. Maybe you were overlooked. Maybe they didn't think you'd amount to much. But isn't that just like God? To take the one no one expected and raise her up. To take the one who was overlooked and put her in a position to be the one who carries the light. That's the pattern. That's what he does. And here's the truth. You've been equipped in ways you don't even realize. Every hardship, every trial, every tear, every loss, it wasn't wasted. It was building something inside of you. It was shaping you for this very role. While your siblings were walking an easier road, you were being refined in fire. You were being stretched, molded, strengthened. You didn't like it, but now you see you can handle things they can't. You can endure storms they wouldn't survive. You can hold weight they would have dropped. That's not random. That's preparation. Sometimes God hides strength in weakness. He hides greatness in quiet places. He hides purpose in pain. And what you thought was your disadvantage has actually been your greatest preparation. You thought being overlooked meant you weren't worthy, but really it meant you were being preserved for the moment God would reveal you. Now let's talk about the loneliness, because being chosen isn't glamorous. It's lonely. You've had moments when you felt like nobody understood. You've cried silently because you couldn't explain the pressure. You've had to smile and keep going when you wanted to fall apart. And in those moments you thought, if God really chose me, why does it feel this hard? But let me remind you, diamonds aren't formed without pressure. Gold isn't purified without fire. And leaders aren't made without battles. The loneliness isn't proof that you're abandoned. It's proof that you're set apart. It's the cost of being chosen. And while others may never fully understand what you carry, God does. He sees it, He honors it, and He strengthens you through it. And maybe you've been tempted to compare, to say, why do they get to live carefree while I have to carry this load? Why do they get to step aside while I'm always in the middle of the fight? But here's the truth. Comparison will rob you of clarity. If you keep looking at what they have, you'll miss the beauty of what you carry. God didn't give you their path because He had something greater in mind for yours. You weren't called to walk easy roads. You were called to create new ones. You weren't called to follow their footsteps. You were called to leave footsteps that others will follow. And that's why the assignment is heavier. That's why the expectations are greater. Because God didn't just choose you, He trusted you. You see, your siblings might love your family, but you were called to lead it. Your siblings might enjoy the blessings, but you were called to protect them, to fight for them, to ensure those blessings didn't stop with this generation. And while that feels like a burden now, one day you'll see it was an honor. Think about this. When God chooses someone, it's never about just them. It's about what flows through them. Your calling isn't just for you. It's for your family. It's for your children. It's for the generations after you. That's why it feels bigger than you, because it is bigger than you. And one day your siblings and your family will look back and realize that the reason their lives look different, the reason they had opportunities they never imagined, was because you were willing to carry what they couldn't. You are the bridge. You are the breakthrough. You are the one God trusted to shift the story. And that's not something to take lightly. But let me also say this. You don't have to be perfect to be chosen. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have all the answers. God didn't choose you because you were flawless. He chose you because you were faithful. Because even when it got hard, you didn't quit. Even when you doubted yourself, you kept moving. Even when you felt empty, you showed up anyway. That's what it means to be chosen. Not perfect, but willing. So yes, woman, God chose you over your siblings. And no, it's not because He loves you more. It's because He trusted you with more. He trusted you with the kind of strength that could carry not just yourself, but others. He trusted you with vision. He trusted you with endurance. He trusted you to handle things that would have crushed them. And while it may feel unfair now, one day you'll see it was divine. When you stand on the other side of the struggle, when you see the doors you opened, when you see the lives you impacted, when you see the legacy you built, you'll understand why it had to be you. You'll understand why the weight was heavy. You'll understand why God didn't give it to them. And you'll be grateful that He saw something in you that you didn't even see in yourself. So keep going, keep carrying, keep believing, because you weren't just chosen, you were prepared. You weren't just trusted, you were equipped. And everything you're walking through right now is proof that God's choice wasn't random. It was right. It was always going to be you, because He knew something about you that you didn't even know about yourself. He saw what was hidden beneath the surface. He saw the strength that would only come alive once it was tested. He saw the faith that would only grow once it was stretched. And He knew that when the weight of responsibility landed on your shoulders, you wouldn't run from it. You'd rise under it. You see, when God makes a choice, He's not looking for the most obvious candidate. He's not looking for the loudest voice or the one who seems to have it all together. He's looking for the one who has a heart willing to trust Him, even when it doesn't make sense. And that's you. You didn't ask for this role, but you accepted it. You didn't feel qualified, but you showed up anyway. You didn't feel ready, but you kept going. And that's why God chose you. Now, maybe you've been through seasons where it felt like you were carrying the world on your back while everyone else was living carefree. Maybe you had to grow up faster. Maybe you were the one who had to step in when things fell apart. Maybe you were the one who had to hold the family together when no one else seemed to care. And while others saw it as unfair, God saw it as training. He was shaping you, strengthening you, building you into the kind of woman who could handle what others could not. And I know what you're thinking. You're wondering, why me, God? Why not them? Why did I have to carry what they couldn't? Why did I have to endure storms that never touched them? Why does it always feel like the pressure finds me? But let me remind you, God never puts more on you than he knows you can handle. And the very fact that you've survived what you've survived is proof that he was right about you. When your siblings were resting, you were fighting. When they were taking detours, you were staying the course. When they were giving up, you were pressing forward. And all of that has created something inside you that's unshakable. You don't even realize how strong you are because you've been walking in survival mode for so long. But God knew. He saw it before you did. That's why he chose you. It's easy to think that being chosen means being favored, but that's not what it means. Being chosen means being entrusted. It means God trusted you with an assignment that was too important to give to someone else. He trusted you with the kind of responsibility that requires maturity, patience, and faith. He trusted you to break cycles of dysfunction. He trusted you to stand up where others stayed silent. He trusted you to carry hope into places where despair had lived for too long. And sometimes being chosen feels isolating. You've been misunderstood. You've been judged. You've been called too much or not enough. You've been told you're different, and not always in a good way. But that difference is exactly why God chose, because you weren't meant to blend in. You weren't meant to follow the same path. You were meant to set a new one. Think about all the times you wanted to quit, but didn't. Think about the times you cried, but got back up anyway. Think about the moments when you thought it was over, but somehow you found the strength to keep going. That wasn't an accident. That was God proving to you that he had already put inside you everything you needed. He chose you not because you were the easiest choice, but because you were the right choice. And yes, it can feel like a heavy responsibility. But what you see as a burden, God sees as a blessing. Because through you, others will find strength. Through you, others will find courage. Through you, others will find healing. Your siblings may not even realize it now, but one day they'll look back and see that the reason certain doors opened for them, the reason the family shifted in a new direction, the reason the cycle was broken, it was because you carried what they couldn't. There's something sacred about being chosen. It means God has marked your life for something greater than you can see right now. It means every tear, every trial, every sacrifice has meaning. It means nothing you've endured has been wasted. It all had purpose, even the parts you didn't understand, even the seasons that felt unfair, even the pain that seemed unbearable. All of it was preparing you for the role you were meant to play. And let me tell you this, you don't have to carry it all in your own strength. God didn't choose you and then leave you empty-handed. He gave you resilience when you needed it. He gave you wisdom beyond your years. He gave you patience when the waiting felt endless. He gave you peace when everything around you was chaotic. He gave you the tools to succeed in an assignment others would have failed in. That's how much he trusted you. So when you start to question yourself, when you start to wonder if you can really handle this, remember, you already are. You've been handling it. You've been living out your assignment without even realizing it. You've been standing tall in places where others would have fallen. You've been pushing forward when giving up would have been easier. You've been walking in strength that didn't come from you, but from the one who chose you. You are not here by accident. You are not carrying this by mistake. You are chosen because you were built for it. And while the weight may feel heavy, it is also holy. It is the sign that your life matters in ways bigger than you can imagine. It is the sign that your story will not end in struggle, but in victory. It is the sign that God saw you, knew you, trusted you, and said, she's the one. So yes, woman, God chose you over your siblings. Not because they weren't worthy, but because he needed someone who would rise to the occasion. Someone who wouldn't run when it got hard. Someone who would lean on him when it felt impossible. Someone who would carry light into dark places. And that someone is you. And one day, when you look back at your journey, you'll understand. You'll see why it had to be you. You'll see why God didn't give it to them. You'll see that what felt like pressure was really preparation. And you'll thank him. You'll thank him for trusting you. You'll thank him for choosing you. You'll thank him for seeing in you what you couldn't see in yourself. Because being chosen isn't just about the weight you carry, it's about the legacy you create. And God chose you to create one that will outlive you, one that will bless generations to come, one that will tell the world she was chosen and she rose to the call. Because he saw your heart before the world ever had a chance to define you. He saw the way you would rise when life tried to push you down. He saw the way you would hold on to hope even when your hands were trembling. He saw the way you would keep walking when your legs felt weak. And he knew, that's the one I can trust with this assignment. That's the one who won't quit when the weight gets heavy. That's the one who will lean on me when it feels impossible. It's not about being the smartest. It's not about being the loudest. It's not about being the one with the most talent or the most confidence. It's about being the one with the most endurance. The one who can stand in the middle of the storm and still believe the sun will shine again. The one who can look at broken pieces and still see the potential for something beautiful. The one who can take pain and turn it into purpose. And that's you. That's why he didn't place it on them. He placed it on you. You've had to walk roads they never touched. You had to face battles they never fought. You had to pray prayers they never prayed. And in those moments, You might have wondered if you were forgotten. You might have wondered if God had abandoned you. But the truth is, those moments were proof that you were set apart, proof that you were being prepared, proof that you were chosen. When your siblings turned away, you leaned in. When they stayed silent, you spoke up. When they hesitated, you moved. And every time you thought you couldn't do it, every time you thought the weight was too much, God reminded you, you were made for this. He put inside you the strength to survive it, the wisdom to handle it, the courage to keep going. Being chosen doesn't mean the path is easy. In fact, it often means the opposite. It means your path is harder because your purpose is greater. It means the weight is heavier because the legacy is larger. It means the nights are longer because the light you carry shines brighter. And while others may not understand it, while even your siblings may not see it, God does. He knows exactly why he picked you. And sometimes you'll feel misunderstood. You'll feel like you're carrying things no one else even notices. You'll feel like you're standing alone in rooms full of people. But that's the cost of being chosen. Isolation isn't punishment, it's preparation. God pulls you aside because he's shaping you for something bigger. He hides you because he's protecting you. He allows you to feel the weight because he's strengthening you. Think about the moments you thought were going to break you, the nights you cried yourself to sleep, the days you wanted to give up, the times you said, God, I can't do this anymore. And yet here you are, still standing, still fighting, still carrying what others would have dropped long ago. That's not by chance. That's because you are chosen. Your siblings might never know the sacrifices you made. They might never see the tears you cried. They might never realize the battles you fought for them in silence. But one day they will see the fruit. One day they will see the doors you opened for them. One day they will see that the reason things shifted in the family, the reason hope returned, the reason blessings flowed, was because you were faithful to your assignment. And you need to know this. Being chosen doesn't mean being perfect. You will stumble. You will fall. You will question yourself. But God didn't choose you because you had it all together. He chose you because he knew you would keep getting back up. He chose you because he knew you would lean on him. He chose you because he knew you would walk by faith even when you couldn't see the road ahead. So when doubt creeps in, when you start to wonder if you're really the right one, remember, God doesn't make mistakes. If he chose you, it's because he knew you could do it, not in your own strength, but in his. And every time you take another step, every time you keep going when quitting feels easier, you're proving him right. The weight you carry is not wasted. The tears you cry are not unnoticed. The sacrifices you make are not unseen. God is keeping track of it all. And one day you'll look back and realize every struggle was building something greater. Every battle was making you stronger. Every season of loneliness was drawing you closer to him. You are the one who changes the story. You are the one who breaks the cycle. You are the one who paves the way. And while it feels like a burden now, one day it will look like a blessing. One day your siblings will thank you. One day your family will see it. One day the world will recognize it. But even if they don't, God already does. That's why he chose you over your siblings. Not to make you proud, but to make you purposeful. Not to give you glory, but to give him glory through you. Not to elevate you above them, but to use you to lift them higher than they ever could have gone without you. So stand tall, even when it feels heavy. Walk boldly, even when it feels lonely. Keep believing, even when it feels impossible. Because the same God who chose you is the same God who will carry you. The same God who entrusted you is the same God who will equip you. The same God who started this work in you is the same God who will see it through. And when you look back, when the dust settles, when the story is told, you'll see it so clearly. You'll see that it was never about being the favorite. It was never about comparison. It was never about who was better or worse. It was always about calling. It was always about trust. It was always about the fact that God looked at you out of everyone else he could have chosen and said, she's the one who can do it. Because he saw you in ways no one else did. He looked past the surface, past the smile you wear for everyone else, past the doubts you carry inside, and he saw the heart. He saw the persistence. He saw the way you would push through even when the odds were stacked against you. He saw that, and he said, she's the one. And I know you've wrestled with that. You've looked at your siblings and thought, why not them? Why me? Why does it feel like every responsibility, every burden, every unseen fight lands in my lap? You've wondered if God was being fair. You've asked him if maybe he chose wrong. But let me tell you something. He doesn't choose wrong. His choices aren't about fairness. They're about purpose. And his purpose for you is greater than you've even begun to understand. When you were little, you may not have felt like the strong one. You may not have been the loudest voice in the room. You may have even felt overlooked or underestimated. But that's exactly why God's choice matters. Because he delights in using the one others pass over. He delights in taking what seems ordinary and doing something extraordinary. That's what he saw in you. Being chosen doesn't always feel like a gift. Sometimes it feels like pressure. Sometimes it feels like isolation. Sometimes it feels like walking into battles you didn't ask for. But let me remind you, pressure creates diamonds, fire refines gold, struggle shapes strength, and every season you thought was meant to break you was really shaping you for what you were called to carry. You've carried things your siblings never even noticed. You've prayed prayers they never had to pray. You've fought battles they never had to fight. and you've kept moving forward when quitting would have been easier. That doesn't happen by chance. That happens because you were built for it. And yes, you've doubted yourself. You've wondered if you're really strong enough. You've wondered if you're capable. You've wondered if maybe God should have picked someone else. But look at you. You're still here. You've walked through storms and come out stronger. You've faced obstacles that could have stopped you, but they didn't. You've survived seasons that would have crushed others. That's not weakness. That's proof. Proof that God knew exactly what he was doing when he chose you. Your siblings may not understand the weight you carry. They may not even realize how much you've sacrificed, how much you've given, how much you've endured on behalf of the family. But one day they will. One day they'll look back and realize that the reason things changed, the reason hope entered the story, the reason blessings flowed into the family was because you were willing to do what they couldn't. Being chosen doesn't mean you were the easiest choice. It means you were the right choice. It means God trusted you with something sacred. He trusted you to break chains that held your family for generations. He trusted you to open doors that others didn't even know existed. He trusted you to step into places that would have intimidated your siblings. He trusted you to walk through fire and not be consumed. And here's the truth. You don't have to do it in your own strength. God didn't pick you and then leave you to figure it out on your own. He equipped you. He gave you resilience. He gave you wisdom beyond your years. He gave you discernment when the path wasn't clear. He gave you courage when fear tried to take over. He gave you everything you would need to walk in your assignment. But sometimes being chosen feels like being hidden. You've felt overlooked. You've felt invisible. You've felt like no one notices the work you're doing behind the scenes. But that's not punishment. It's protection. God hides his chosen ones until the right moment. He keeps you covered so you can grow in the dark, so that when it's time to step into the light, you're ready. And maybe you've been tempted to compare yourself to your siblings, to look at their path and wish it was yours, to wonder why they seem freer, lighter, less weighed down. But comparison will steal your clarity. If you're always looking at their path, you'll miss the beauty of your own. God didn't give you their assignment because he had something greater in mind for yours. Your path is different because your purpose is different. Your battles are harder because your victory will be greater. Your nights are longer because your light shines brighter. And while it feels unfair now, one day you'll see the full picture. You'll understand why it had to be you. You weren't called to blend in. You weren't called to repeat the same cycles. You weren't called to walk the same roads. You were called to change the story. You were called to set a new standard. You were called to be the one who stands in the gap. That's not small work. That's sacred work. And that's why God chose you. So yes, it's heavy. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's overwhelming at times. But remember this, you were trusted with it because you could handle it. You were chosen because you could carry it. You were picked because you would not give up. And everything you've walked through has been preparing you for what's ahead. One day you'll see it. You'll look back and realize the weight made you stronger. The tears watered the soil of your purpose. The struggles sharpened your faith. And the path you thought was breaking you was actually building you. That's why God chose you over your siblings. Not because you're better. Not because you're more loved. But because he knew he could trust you. He knew you would keep going. He knew you would lean on him. He knew you would carry something that wasn't just about you, but about everyone who comes after you. And when the story is told, when generations look back, they'll say, she was the one. She was the one who carried what we couldn't. She was the one who broke the cycle. She was the one who set a new path. She was the one who was chosen. And so, woman, when you feel the weight pressing down on you, when you wonder why it had to be, remember this: God's choice was never random. He looked at your life, at your heart, at your strength, and he said, she's the one who can carry it. You weren't chosen to be crushed. You were chosen to rise. You weren't chosen to walk alone. You were chosen to walk with him. And every battle, every burden, every breakthrough is proof that you are exactly where you're meant to be. Stand firm in that truth. Walk boldly in that calling. Because the same God who chose you is the same God who will sustain you. And the story he's writing through you will be greater than anything you ever imagined.